I'd like to just start with my first question is just a little bit of introduction on you, Netra.
Great. Yeah. So, hi, my name is Netra Venkatesh. I'm currently a sophomore at Rice University, and I was born and brought up in Dubai, which is obviously a very multicultural environment. And I think that kind of gave me a good standpoint to start working globally. And from Dubai, obviously, going globally was not that much of a challenge just because Dubai is so well connected in that sense. My background in nonprofit work and just the industry in general started when I was 14, and I founded my nonprofit organization focusing on webinar-based education for young women across the globe. And that's kind of where my journey began. And I've always been very passionate about impacting people and kind of getting into a role where I can make a difference in the world.
So I just want to pick your brain a little bit more on the story behind SpunkGo.
Yeah.
Like, was there a specific incident? Was it just something you were passionate about? And what gap in education or empowerment specifically were you trying to fill?
So it actually was a pretty light bulb moment in the sense that I wasn't really thinking about it. And then in the moment that I kind of experienced this, I was like, wait, we can actually kind of scale this and make this something doable. And so I was supposed to attend the Wharton Future of the Business World program in person in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And this was around the time of the pandemic, so towards the beginning. And they decided to move it online. So June of 2020, it got announced that it would move online. And before it got moved online, there were about maybe 50, 60 participants. And once they made that announcement, the attendance numbers kind of jumped, almost tripling. And so we kind of saw that and we were like, oh, okay, you know. And while I was in the course, obviously it was all done on Zoom. And so I was meeting people with a lot of different backgrounds from a lot of different places. And so one experience that I kind of recount is just that I was like in a meeting room with like someone from Jakarta, New York, and then kind of the African subcontinent, a lot of places over there. And I thought it was a really beautiful moment and it kind of gave me a bit of a spark and it gave me that light bulb. What if we could use this technology to kind of reach places of the world that we haven't necessarily reached through physical means, and we can kind of use the digital platform to do this. And so my gap that I was trying to fill was to kind of reshape the culture around women's empowerment to include soft skills. So I think in education, a lot of times we talk about, math, English, science, but do we really talk about the soft skills that you need to survive in the world? Communication, mental health, organization. And through this, I kind of wanted to bridge the gap between people who didn't necessarily have the access to mentorship opportunities and didn't see successful women in their part of the world.
What was your process to kind of set up the SpunkGo programs that you have? You have webinars, you have building partnerships from like literally a global volunteer base.
So I think in terms of some of the initial speakers for my webinars were people that I knew like from a professional sense within Dubai. And so a lot of those earlier speakers are just kind of people my dad knew from the banking industry, people my mom knew through social events and her work at Microsoft. And so I think starting from Dubai and just the fact that it has such a diverse workplace and kind of the industries that you see in Dubai are so very unique. I would kind of pick out people from that and be able to deliver webinars on niche topics, and things that this audience might not have seen before. And so it started off with the monthly webinars. And as we grew, I just kept having a nagging feeling that maybe I can't do it all on my own. And that's kind of when I introduced the volunteer program and our ambassadors. We have 30 ambassadors for the 25 countries that we operate in. And so that's kind of something that came along the way. It wasn't necessarily originally part of the plan. And then from introducing volunteers, I think it gave me a lot of new perspectives because I was able to talk to the people that I was really serving, and they kind of mentioned the need for unique programs and activities. And so one of the things that we developed at SpunkGo almost 2 years after its inception was our donation program. So taking from the community in Dubai who was so willing to give to people who didn't necessarily have access to the same opportunities. And so the donation program was something that came along with my inception of the volunteer program, and it kind of built itself along the way. And one more thing the volunteers are really passionate about is writing and creating their own opportunities. And so something I'm really looking into implementing at SpunkGo is our newsletter. And so showcasing the writing capabilities of our community and just what they're thinking about.
Honestly, I'm very inspired by you. You are a Diana Award recipient,
Yeah.
which is very, very cool. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So the Diana Award is probably the highest accolade someone aged 9 to 25 can earn for humanitarian work. And so a lot of it comes from the core principles of Princess Diana herself. She was kind of an advocate for youth can change the world. And so a lot of those values are reflected in the award process. I was a judge for it last year, and so I can kind of say that most of the projects that we see are very passion driven, and you can see that people really value the impact and the communities that they're making almost to the point where they feel the need to serve them. And so my process with the Diana Award was a little, I think, maybe unconventional in the typical sense that I heard about it through one of my LinkedIn connections. She had recently won the Diana Award, and I was like, this is such a cool program. And I decided to apply. And for about 2 months, I didn't hear anything. So I thought, I'll give it a dead end. And one of my nominators, so you're required to be nominated by someone who knows you in a professional capacity. She was kind of egging me on. She was like, no, like, I think you should, you're so good. And I don't know why you're kind of discrediting yourself like that. Eventually, I got that email, and
Wow.
being a Diana Award winner was so much to me just because it connected me to so many people globally who had the same recognition patterns and the same desire to do good in the world. And from that onwards, it kind of goes one level up to the Legacy Award program, which is 10, I think, out of the 100 that are picked for the Diana Award. And that again was a process that I wasn't really involved with just because they contacted my nominator. They got a little bit more information from her. They looked into me just like in a general background sense and kind of vouched from different sources. And that experience did lead me to go to London for a 7-day workshop and the award conference program where I got to meet Prince William, which is such an
Wow.
amazing experience. And I will literally never shut up about it. It's such a defining moment in my life because it really made me want to continue what I was doing, and just the fact that I was having an impact, it made me very, very happy. So yeah, that's a little bit about the award program.
What do you think is the most important lesson you've learned so far founding and building SpunkGo?
I think one of the things, and I kind of take it from the people of the community, is just passion is such a driving force. And so when I started off SpunkGo, I was about 14. I didn't have any public speaking experiences. I wasn't working in the nonprofit world, and I had no professional approach to like outreach to organizations and partnerships. And I had to learn along the way. And I think one thing that really kept me going was the fact that there was someone out there, even if it was just one person, that would be impacted by the work that I do. And a lot of it was just the fact that I would be able to meet so many new people and kind of reach parts of the globe that we don't necessarily talk about in conversation, parts of the globe that we don't really recognize when we talk about economic development and women's empowerment. And so a lot of that came from the fact that I really wanted to help this section of the world that kind of seemed unrecognized. And so I think passion is such a driving force, as well as technical skills are always easy to build. But I think soft skills are really where it takes practice. So soft skills is communication, time management, whereas technical skills is Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing. So I think through my process, I kind of learned that being a founder and working in the nonprofit industry, I didn't need to be this perfect person. I just needed to practice on my soft skills. And I think it's really taken me to the position that I am in today.
What would be your piece of advice on how to get started with a sort of social impact project?
This sounds kind of bad in theory, but I swear it works in practice. I think you need to be overconfident to a level that even if you don't have the technical skills, even if you don't have the soft skills built up, it really is like fake it until you make it. So if you're able to pitch yourself and your idea, people will be invested in what you have to say and what you have to do, even if they've never thought of it before. And so if you are able to really showcase your passion, it really imprints onto other people and they want to join your journey as if feeling like they don't need to. And so I think one of the biggest things is showcasing passion and choosing something that you are truly passionate about. Because if I was an investor and I was looking at your nonprofit and looking at funding, I would be able to tell if this is sort of like something that you're starting up for college or something that you've genuinely been thinking about for, your lifespan or whatever, 2 months or however long it is. But really, passion is such an important thing because it's part of the human experience. And if you don't have anything you're passionate about, you are not living right.
Very true.
So in that sense, that's kind of the advice that I would give for starting up something. I think in terms of ambition, it is so important to kind of focus internally and not look at other people and what other people are doing. I think comparison is such a joy killer. And one quote, very cheesy, don't measure your own success with someone else's ruler. So if someone's aim in life is to start up a really big consulting firm with so many consultants globally, and your vision just doesn't look like that, it shouldn't be that the comparison of the two makes you feel unsuccessful. I think defining your own goals and your own vision for the future is so, so, so important, along with that passion.
On the topic of college applications, specifically the essays, what is something that like you did not expect for you to write in your essay?
I think something I really didn't expect to write about was just kind of being somewhat of a third culture kid. So I have never lived in India, but I am of Indian origin. And I think Dubai does such a good job of facilitating community in these ways that you can kind of find, a really broad range of people within your own community. And so I was really excited to kind of explore that, but also a little bit of my disconnect from not living in India. I know that the experiences of the people of Dubai and the people who live in India are very, very different, and kind of that disconnect that I felt in the moment, not knowing my native language. So that's something that I bring up pretty often. I can understand Tamil. I cannot speak a word of it. And it really, really embarrassed me at one point of time because I thought that I had to just because I was Indian, but I didn't really acknowledge that I had a global perspective. And that's something that only Dubai could bring. And so my upbringing in India was not necessarily like a hinge that, changed my entire life. But it did definitely make me the person that I am to grow up in Dubai.